Welcome to another episode of Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise Retirement Podcast, where certified financial planner Lauren Sherman shares thoughts on having a healthy mind, body, and spirit, an abundance of wealth inside portfolios and out, and lessons learned from clients and mentors over the years.
Thanks for joining me today. Whether you are a returning listener or catching the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise Retirement Podcast for the first time, I am glad you're here. Today, we are going to talk about the month of October. It's a time for ghosts, goblins, and of course, Medicare drug plans. Every Halloween comes with trick-or-treating, scary movies, and costumes of ghosts, zombies, and much more. But just as frightening this time of year, choosing the right prescription drug plan. Obviously, drug plans don't fit on this list quite like the others, but every year, Medicare's annual election period takes place running from October 15th through December 7th. During this time frame, retirees are allowed to change from one drug plan to another for the upcoming year. Insurance companies give you their best sales pitch as retirees see endless commercials, a mailbox full of solicitations, and perhaps even phone calls petitioning you to switch to their hottest new plan. As a financial advisor, I pride myself on helping retirees manage their income strategy, develop a tax-efficient plan, lay the groundwork for generational wealth, and so much more. But it's also important we don't overpay for ongoing costs like your drug plan. While Medicare planning is often overlooked or seen as unimportant, I find value and enjoyment knowing we're doing everything we can to keep your hard-earned money in your pocket. In my experience, even our most wealthy clients love when we show them how to save money, especially when they are overpaying for something without receiving value in return. However, a question we often hear is something along the lines of, "But aren't all drug plans pretty much the same?" Instead of answering this question with a bunch of boring numbers or graphs, I'm going to share with you a story about Ed and Judy's experience. As I talk through this, think about your own situation and how you may be able to relate. If this story does not resonate with you, perhaps it's the reality for your neighbors, friends, or other family members on Medicare. Let's dive in. When I first met Ed and Judy, we gathered all of the typical financial documents to prepare for a retirement review. This included investment statements, account balances, tax returns, and so on. But they were caught off guard when I asked for a list of prescriptions and the names of their current drug plans. Ed and Judy were both on many of your more frequently used prescriptions: simvastatin, omeprazole, metformin, and a few name brand drugs where the generic did not work quite as well. Ed and Judy were in a pretty common situation, no different than most retirees. And after conducting a full retirement readiness review, we found we could tweak their plan so they would reach their retirement goals, never run out of money, and even cut about $3,500 off of their investment fees each year. Ed and Judy were excited as they had worked hard to have enough money to retire without running out of funds. On top of that, the $3,500 savings in fees was great, but as Judy pointed out, it was even more satisfying knowing this $3,500 was not just a one-time savings, but something they'd see each and every year of their retirement. But what threw us all for a loop is when we ran the numbers and found out we could cut another $6,500 in expenses from their plan. Shockingly, this $6,500 extra in savings came solely from their prescription drug costs. Our team runs over 1,000 drug plan scenarios for clients each and every year, and for most couples, $500 or even between $2,000 to $3,000 in savings is pretty common, but a savings of over $6,000 tends to only happen a couple of times each year. Just like lowering investment fees, optimizing to the correct drug plan each election period doesn't just give you satisfaction for 1 year, but savings you'll enjoy year after year as long as you are on Medicare. So why is it so challenging, and how do so many retirees get this part wrong? Let's review how we got to $6,500 in savings and how you can use these strategies too. Where did Ed and Judy go wrong? For starters, Ed and Judy did not go through the process I'm about to teach you, but instead signed up with a captive agent only able to offer one company. When the agent showed them the best plan to sign up for, he was only showing them the best of the 3 plans his company offered. Let's look at the first step. Number 1 is finding the right company and plan. By selecting the right company and plan for Ed and an entirely different plan for Judy, this step alone saved over $3,800 for the year. We went with 2 different plans simply because Ed and Judy take different prescriptions, so it makes sense to find the best fit unique to their needs. As a quick side note, it's not necessarily a red flag when I see a husband and wife with the same prescription drug company, but it does raise my antennas a bit. Not always, but often, couples end up with the same company because they purchased their coverage as a result of the same advertisement they received, or because they worked with the same agent who only had access to limited companies. So we're off to a good start with Ed and Judy, already finding $3,800 of savings. Let's take a look at the second step. Number 2 involves finding the right pharmacy. I also noticed that Ed and Judy would be better off switching pharmacies or using a mail order option. This can be a touchy subject because many don't want to change pharmacies, and I totally get that. No different, Ed and Judy weren't too keen on switching, but when we saw a difference of $1,600 for the year, they decided that was just too much extra to pay to avoid switching pharmacies. Once again, not everyone is comfortable switching pharmacies, and that's okay, but it's important to be aware that different pharmacies can have very different pricing. So far, by finding the right plan and changing pharmacies, we are up to $5,400 in savings for the year. Moving on to the third step. Number 3 involves looking into alternative resources. Sometimes we see 1 or 2 prescriptions making up most of the cost. In these cases, we can check with your doctor to see if alternatives or generics exist that could be just as effective. We can also ask for samples from your doctor or the drug company directly, especially for prescriptions taken for a short duration. Another alternative, we can go straight to the drug company for coupons and discounts, which sometimes this is income dependent, so it may not be an option for everyone, but you might be surprised how high some of the income limits are. Next, we can apply for drug plan assistance programs through Medicare. And last, we can look at online alternatives like GoodRx. I've personally headed into the pharmacy to pick up a prescription that was going to cost close to $150. When I pulled out my phone and did a quick check, I was able to bring the cost down to $22 using GoodRx. For Ed and Judy, we were able to cut about 90% of the cost for 2 of Ed's most costly prescriptions with this last step, which saved us about $1,100 more. And that was in part because he didn't take those prescriptions very often. If he was taking them more regularly, the savings would have been quite a bit higher. So to recap those 3 steps, we start by finding the right company and the right plan to fit your prescriptions each year. Then we can make sure we're getting the biggest discount by finding the right pharmacy that fits your specific plan and prescriptions. And last, we can leverage alternative resources for more help, especially if you have costly name brand prescriptions. At the end of the day, it's great to save money, but looking at the long-term impact of these changes was important to Ed and Judy. One of their retirement goals was to help each of their grandkids with a generous gift after graduating college. This was a tradition in Ed's family, as his grandparents helped he and Judy buy their first home by gifting the down payment. After going through our retirement readiness process, we knew that accomplishing this was going to be a bit of a challenge. There was enough money to support Ed and Judy's own retirement, but gifting large sums to the grandkids would make things pretty tight. However, by saving $6,500 each year through optimizing their Medicare drug plans, we were able to put this back into the retirement plan each year. Assuming a conservative 5% return, Ed and Judy would have about $140,000 at the end of 15 years. This would be enough to give all 6 of their grandkids over $23,000. Of course, taxes would cut into some of this, and not each child would need the money in exactly 15 years. Also, we may earn a bit more or a bit less than 5%, and we could also save more or less than $6,500 each year moving forward. But variables aside, the moral of the story is that we were now headed in the right direction, and Ed and Judy would be able to continue the tradition Ed's grandparents had started. Let's close up by reviewing how to save like Ed and Judy. The first step I encourage you to do is visit Medicare's website and set up an account if you haven't already done so. Don't worry if you are not the most tech savvy, as our team can help get you started, or feel free to check out the show notes for a link if you want to do this step on your own. After your account is set up, you will input each of your prescriptions with their dosage and frequency. You will next select your pharmacy and can then view the results showing every plan available in your zip code. The plans will automatically take all costs into consideration, so an all-in estimate of the upcoming year includes your plan's premium, deductible, and copayment specific to the prescriptions you typed in. Your list will be personalized to your own prescriptions, organized from the least expensive plan to the most expensive plan. I know many retirees grew up with the old adage, you get what you pay for. But in this situation, often people pay more for a plan that simply isn't the best fit for their prescriptions. For many, the next step can be as simple as selecting the top plan shown for your personalized results. As we have found out from Ed and Judy's story, it can get more complicated when comparing generic versus brand prescriptions, comparing pharmacies, and using external resources like drug company discounts or GoodRx. So once again, feel free to use our team to double check your results or to simply help from the start. The last and most important step is continuing to do this each and every year. I have seen many times where a retiree did everything right when they first turned 65, but then failed to review their plan each year during the annual election period. Remember, even if your prescriptions do not change, the insurance companies change their plans each year, so this must be something we keep on our to-do list every fall. I know not everyone listening is on Medicare already, but I know many of you help out your parents or friends with this sort of planning. And even if that's not the case, hopefully you will now be more prepared for when the time comes that you join the Medicare crowd. That's all I have for you today. We will chat more in 2 weeks, and until then, don't hesitate to schedule your own complimentary prescription drug plan review using the calendar link in the show notes. You will also find additional resources in the show notes, such as a cheat sheet in PDF version that you can print off. Of course, for past episodes covering a wide range of topics, check out healthywealthywiseretirement.com. And if you could do me a huge favor, I'd love if you shared the link with one or two others who you think might find this helpful. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much for listening and supporting this podcast. If you've enjoyed listening, we would love if you took a quick moment to leave an honest review. Of course, we're shooting for 5 stars, but if you have suggestions to improve the show, we would love to hear from you too. Just click on the podcast name, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise Retirement Podcast, and scroll down to ratings and review. Thanks again for your support, as this helps us reach a wider audience and help even more retirees just like you. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and is not intended as a specific tax, legal, or investment advice. Lauren Sherman is a certified financial planner and co-owner of Integrity Wealth Management, an investment advisor serving retirees in search of their own healthy, wealthy, and wise retirement lifestyle.